Sayif, I was thinking about having you as a regular guest on this like new format of my podcast, and I was thinking to call the segment "Fitz and the General."
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Nice.
Yeah. Strong.
So
why is Fitz first? Because it's your show.
Well, the show is Fitz Nation.
Okay.
And the recurring segment, Fitz and the General. Is that all right?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So I don't know where I want to start with you, but since it's January of a new year, what do you like to go back to when it's New Year time? Like when people are setting their new goals and their resolutions and they're mapping out like what they hope to be. What's that like for you?
New year. Yeah, new year, new goals. And I don't like to look back a lot, what we've done, because it really doesn't matter. In fighting, it's literally you're only as good as your last fight. But, you know, with multiple guys in the top 10 now, you know, with the numbers next to your name, it's not very complicated, right? You're at 8 and you're trying to get to 2. You're trying to obviously get to the title shot, but how much ground can you cover in a year? And then also, you know, I have a plan for every athlete. Some guys, the plan is for them to win one pro fight and have that journey in their life and then move on. Some guys, it's for them to make it to the UFC. Some guys, everyone has a different, you know, ceiling and different skill sets, but I try to really personalize things, and I do talk to every single person on the team. What are our goals? What are we trying to do? Where are we trying to go? What did you do well? What can you do better? And so on and so forth. So it's a time for some reflection, but not too much. We're too busy looking forward.
What about you personally?
Me personally, I do a kind of a check every year. I don't do it on my birthday. I do it at the end of every year. What have I accomplished in this year? You know, what did I accomplish at 40? What did I accomplish at 41? You know, what did I accomplish at 42? And for me, you know, it's been a year of a ton of growth. The show is new for us.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
You know, we just won Gym of the Year. It's fantastic.
Yeah, congrats on that.
To start a gym 5 years ago and 5 years make it the best gym in the world, and for it to be recognized, you know, by a big outlet like MMA Junkie, it really is a huge compliment and an honor. And just to kind of keep everything going, like I said, you know, we've got guys that are streaking and going for that belt, and I really want them to finish that journey and climb that mountaintop. So just focused on everybody's individual goals and just trying to make everybody better.
This question often gets spun to a negative direction, but I will say negatively or positively. What is something keeping you up at night these days? Or something where it has your mind racing, where you're like thinking about it so much?
I mean, that goes back to these guys and girls with these fights. I mean, you know, look, it's taken us 10 years to get here. I started coaching in 2009, more than that. You know, I've had, you know, some of these athletes, you know, Damon Jackson's been with me over 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC, and it's just, there's so much that's happened, and understanding these guys' lives and their family situation and their money situation. You know, to talk about football, we'll talk about the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell.
Right.
Love that guy.
Yeah,
and,
I like.
And Dan Campbell was.
I was rooting for them to make the playoffs.
Dan Campbell was. I was talking to my brother, and he's like, I think about you guys all day, man. All I do is think about you guys. And my brother was telling me that he's a Lions fan, and I told him, I said, that's exactly true. As a coach, I think about my team and my guys and my fighters all the time. You know, where are they at? What's their financial situation, and how are they doing in their lives? And you know, they're like your kids. So lots of stuff keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll just spread the blame on the whole team.
What do you think is a pretty universal trait that has allowed your fighters to get better, but that could allow like a school teacher to get better, or an accountant, or a lawyer, anybody?
It's the mindset of getting better every day. You have to have a mindset of getting better every day. I always say you're either growing or you're dying. There is no in between. There is no standing still. If you think you're standing still, you're just going backwards. And you've got to have a mindset or you're constantly pushing the boundaries of everything, whether it's how much you read, whether it's your diet, whether it's your exercise routine, whether it's how you treat your significant other, whether it's, you know, your approach towards work. Perspective changes everything. And if you have the right perspective, it allows you to continue to grow in everything you do. And I think that that's something we've really, really harped on it in the room.
Yeah.
Having the right perspective. Fighting can be a grind. You know, hey, let me show up to work and get punched in the face today. I mean, you know, I mean, that's just, I remember when I was fighting, sometimes you wake up and you don't want to get hit in the face. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. And the guys will come in and they'll just look at me like, hey, coach. And I'm like, man, I know that feeling, you know. But if I can change my perspective and tell myself, you know what, I'm going to improve this technique today. I'm going to work on my defense today so I don't get hit. I'm going to become a better version of myself. That resonates with everybody, no matter what walk of life, no matter what job, no matter what your goal is, just a little bit better every day. And I really feel like if you have that attitude, it can take you very, very far.
Something I found this year that I've started doing, like at the turn of the year, I used to make a list of goals, like read 12 books and do this, whatever. And this year I was like, I don't want to come up with a laundry list of things to do. But, and I think Heidi Andrell talked about this, like focusing on a word or a couple of words of just like having focus. So my two words are consistency and community. And so like consistency mostly in the exercise realm, just like, no excuse, even if it's 50 push-ups today
100%.
over the course of the day, do
100%.
it. So I'm happy that I've done that. And then community, where it's just like, what did I do to like help build a community today?
100%.
Because sometimes it's like, you know, you get to like before and you're just like, gosh, I haven't made a new friend in like 8 years, you know, like I don't know my neighbors and I don't know all these people around me. It's just like, no, what can I do to build a community here at work, like afar? So it's like, yeah, just that daily thing where it's like the small things.
I think you nailed it though. I mean, you know, 40 years old, right? It's not about you anymore. It's not, you know, and how do you improve those around you? How do you lift up and teach everybody or pass on the lessons that you've learned?
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about this age. You know, I'm 42, and the cool thing about being a parent and the cool thing about being a coach is that you're always working on making everybody better. And I think that that's just such an organically good thing that, what can you say? It's a blessing to live that way. You know, I went to law school, but I could never be a damn lawyer, because just seeing the negativity that is involved in that, you know, monetizing people's problems, like that was just not something that sat well with me. So I really feel fortunate, you know, to be a coach and to try to push people to improve. And I just think, you know, you just hit on it. That's really what, you know, humanity is really about.
Yeah. So I haven't seen you spoken publicly about Brandon. Is that something you're doing? Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, I haven't talked about it a lot. I did an interview with Brett.
So this will come out, our conversation here, next week, next Monday, or Tuesday. So you will be like on your way to Brazil to corner Brandon Moreno in the title fight.
Correct.
What do you think about that?
So what happened was Jason House contacted me about it, and I spoke to Hunter Campbell about it. And you know, Brandon was in a bad spot, right? Obviously, some things happened that were outside of his control, and they asked me to take on the head coach role and to run the camp and to you know, get him ready for this huge moment, right?
Yeah.
This is never before in the history of UFC or MMA has there been a rivalry or a fourth fight, a title fight with such big stakes. So I took it on, and the reason I took it on was I've always loved that kid. He's such a sweet kid, such a sweetheart, and I've always told Jason that I think that he is one of the nicest kids I've ever seen, and has one of the greatest attitudes. So I wanted to help him, but it's not something I wanted to really speak a lot about because the circumstances are not, you know, they're a little weird for him as well. And also, you know, it's something I've stayed away from in building my own team and building Fortis. You know, we're known for producing. We've got more fighters that have won on the Contender than any other team. And we produced all of our own talent. So I'm not one to take people on that are, you know, in that position usually. I've actually went out of my way to not do it before. So this was just a special case, but again, this is Brandon's moment. Brandon's already had 3 crazy fights with this guy.
Yeah.
So I look at it as me just trying to make him the best version of himself and help a kid out who's really in need. And that's why I haven't publicized it and talked about it. And me and Brandon have gelled very well. And I like him a lot. He's a great kid. And he's ready to fight. And we're ready to go to Rio, and we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there.
I know this isn't your goal, is to like absorb him into Fortis or whatever. Do you see that happening? Like, is he gonna?
I'm taking it one fight at a time.
Yeah,
you
we'll
know?
see how the result of this.
And again, you know, it wasn't easy for both of us because, you know, we're both thrown in this situation. But I really feel like we've bonded pretty well, and we've grown pretty well, and the whole team. You know, he's his jiu-jitsu coach. You know, Hector, Izzy Silva, fantastic wrestling coach. Hoya, his Muay Thai coach. And then Capetillo, an unbelievable boxing coach. Trained Andy Ruiz, trained Tyson Fury. I've really enjoyed working with everybody and working with the group, and they've gave me the reins. Like, hey man, you know, let's
drive the bus.
Drive the bus, and it's been a really great job of everybody, you know, working together as a team to get this done, and with one focus, and that focus is Brandon.
Yeah. So we just did UFC breakdown, as I mentioned, and I'll finish with this. Glover Teixeira, Jamal Hill.
Yeah.
So you've obviously dove into the game film on these guys, and you can watch it on UFC breakdown on YouTube. So, you know, the fans love it.
Make sure you check that out.
But for this mini version here, what will you look for early in the fight to be like, it's good for this guy, it's good for this guy?
Well, you know, as we just talked about, Jamal Hill is, you know, very dangerous on the feet. More significant strike differential than anyone else at light heavyweight. We talked about that. More knockouts than anyone else at light heavyweight in the last few years. We know where he's dangerous and where he can win, and Glover does get touched early. He always seems to get hit and rocked, and then he comes back. So I think Jamal is going to try to really pressure him early. That being said, though, Glover is tenacious, and he does have a big advantage on the ground, I feel. And if he can weather that early storm and get Hill in those bad spots, it might be a long night for Hill.
So yeah, you think if Hill doesn't get him out of there on that first barrage, Glover's shown the grit.
I think he could win a decision.
Yeah.
Hill, I mean, he you know, it's not to say that he can't
right.
on the feet.
Right.
But Glover has shown the grit, and he keeps coming, man. He just keeps on coming, and he's so dangerous on the ground. So, and on the feet, he's got pop. But Hill's a dog, man, and he's really, really confident right now. And that confidence makes him dangerous. It's not something that should be taken lightly. He's a real threat to Glover.
So Sayif was the 3rd guest on my podcast back in 2019, episode 3. When we were in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And then I believe you were the first repeat guest on the podcast. True. And then now this is the first Fitz in the General recurring segment on Fitz Nation.
I like that.
Thanks, Sayif.
My man. Always a pleasure.